Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this live discussion in the context of our DAFilms retrospective. Nikita Lavretski of Nikita Lavretski. So thank you for joining us, Nikita.
Hi everyone.
And we're also joined by Andrés Duque, who's a filmmaker from Spain, Venezuela. Also has a connection with Nikita's work that we can chat through in this conversation.
Hi everyone.
And we're also joined by Andrés Duque. Oh, I have some echo.
I think
Yeah, that's because I have the YouTube stream on, but I've muted it already. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're unnerving me with my own voice there. So here we are. We have the retrospective. The retrospective is like you and like your self-titled film called Nikita Lavretski. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about was, why are you always making films about yourself or with yourself? And when you make films about yourself, they are often portray you as sort of borderline psychopathic. In your first film, which is Belarusian Psycho, which I saw recently, it's a incredibly damning self-portrait or a portrait of this character played by you. And in Nikita Lavretski, the film that you made from home movies, you are also creating a kind of fictional character, but it's also some kind of reflection of yourself. So not at the risk of making this sound like therapy, I'm wondering what for you is the kind of value of your own image on screen and working with your own image as somehow kind of an element of a film.
I mean, I can like once again, hello everyone. Hi Andres, because
hi Nikita.
I feel like we haven't formally started. So to answer your question, the main thing is, first of all, for me, Belarusian Psycho and Nikita Lavretski are not the same kind of movie. Like Belarusian Psycho is strictly fiction. It's like my version of like this incel character. Or for those who don't know, it's like an online subculture of people who feel like they're involuntary celibates, but so it's like complete fiction. And Nikita Lavretski is like an authentic and sincere autobiographical film. So it's already kind of weird that you're comparing them, but I guess it is true that both
self-referential, you know.
Yeah, they're both working with my self-image, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, like my self-image or my own presence as an actor is just an instrument to tell stories. So in a way, to tell like this authentic story about like a childhood that's kind of creepy and uncomfortable, and to show this like bullying scenes and violence would be unethical if it was someone else and not me. Like, for example, if I found like an archive of some other person, and even if I got their consent, it would be a little bit uncomfortable to make like such a movie about them. So for me, this is just like convenient to use. Like, I can use my own self-image without any concern for like I guess the ethical side of it, in the sense that I can like I don't feel any shame about ruining or like making myself seem unlikable on screen. Or I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's just like an instrument. This is like raw material for me to work with. So
yeah,
on the natural, the raw material I work with is my own self-image. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's important for a filmmaker to find its potential, its potentiality, because cinema is a very big department store where you can be, in very different parts, and understanding where do you feel more connected, whether you are the person in front of the camera, whether you are the person who is framing and creating images, whether you think of you or you use film to make music, if I can use this um, idea, or montage or script writing. It's very important as a filmmaker to understand where you are situated, because that's where all the flow of energy and ideas will come out. And definitely, you have a great presence in the camera, which is something that is very appalling. And well, I saw Nikita Lavretski, and of course, it's easier to get engaged with a child, with a little child who is answering questions to their parents. But now that I've seen you growing up on your other films, I was totally amazed. Like, wow, I love this guy. He's so engaging, and he can be funny, but at the same time, it transcends any possible intonation towards very human aspects, and observing very quotidian aspects of life that really they transcend. And yeah, it's really beautiful. Talking about the first film, which for me is like a great film to start, because it's also for me it works as a declaration of intentions. In your first films, you talk about desires, aspirations towards the art. You're telling me this is all fictional, but somehow it's something that you could relate to what an author is, or what an author should be. And it's a good subject, losing the virginity in your first film. I think it's great to start a career as a filmmaker. And so I was wondering, how do you started doing films? I mean, what triggered the whole compulsion or pulsion to do films for you?
First of all, can I say a little comment? Like the thing you said, like that the cinema is like this big convenience store with like many options, or you can try out being like different things. This is not my experience, to be honest. Like for me, like for me is for me cinema is like a single cell, like a confinement cell where I'm all alone, and I don't have many options to try different professions. I have do everything all at once, and I cannot like I don't have so many raw materials to work with. I don't have access to many kind of characters, so I didn't have much choice but to think about like what kind of stories I can tell while using myself as much as possible. So for me to use myself so extensively as like the lead character in my films, so the lead actor in my films, was like a necessary decision.
Yeah.
And to answer your question,
Yeah.
when my passion for film started, I think it, like as far as I can remember, I was always stretching my hand towards the camera. Like you can see it in Nikita Lavretski in the film, that I'm always asking other people or my parents to give me the camera to film something, because like I always wanted to do it. And like I cannot even tell where my so to speak official filmography starts, because like should I consider my first official film the one that I made when I was 12, or the one that I made when I was 14, or 16, or 18, or 20? It's very hard to tell, like, what is the first mature work. Maybe I haven't even made my first mature work, because it's all been like such a gradual process. So, like, filmmaking has been a part of my life for as far as I can remember.
And there's something that's, when you watch the films together, there's something that's very, very, very vulnerable about them. Particularly when you watch them, not each year that they're coming out, but retrospectively all together. Particularly with this kind of trigger of Nikita Lavretski, the film, because it just, as you said, it becomes not so much that you're playing yourself or that you are like these characters, but that there's this blend between the actual sense of the film being made and also this character, and also your presence that you can just feel in the film. So even something as raw as Belarusian Psycho becomes something else, something more of an experience than the sum of its parts. There are just this kind of almost like a retroactive ghost haunting all these films that to me makes them really even more beautiful than they already were. It's not so much a question. I mean, it's
Thank you for the kind words, if that's not a question. I mean, maybe this is all just a coincidence, like, because even with Belarusian Psycho, I wasn't myself wasn't the first choice for the lead character. So I wanted to cast another actor, but he declined, or rejected the offer. No, he accepted the offer, but he dropped out of the film like a day before the shooting was supposed to start. So I had to postpone the film a whole year. It was supposed to be filmed during summer 2014, but it was filmed only in 2015. So that's another one of my traits, that I don't abandon the projects. They don't happen straight away. So then they're not so improvised as they may appear.
I was going to ask you about that, because even though they look really spontaneous, sometimes I believe there is a lot of talking before about what should we say, and preparation on the scenes. And I was wondering if you work with scripts, and how is your process to working with the other actors and creating ideas for the scenes.
I mean, I prefer to write full scripts. So I have the scripts with all the dialogue, but my point of view, or like my main direction to the actors, that they should somehow recreate the script on screen, but try not to repeat the script verbatim, So like I have dialogues with like main points, like I guess the beginning, the middle, and the end, and things that they should mention, but they shouldn't repeat it word for word. They should just say it in their own words, because I don't trust my own ability to actually capture how people speak. I don't think I'm able to do it. I think my scripts are kind of very unnatural, even when I have something interesting. When I can think of something interesting for the characters to say, the way it's worded is often not good. So I'm very practical. So the practical way to come out of this situation is to tell them to communicate the same ideas, but in their own words.
Yeah, that's a little bit of what you can see in you playing yourself in Cinemagia, where you try to help your friends to make a film, or you accept this offer of your friend to make a film. But you somehow, your friends shows yourself very insecure, and you are still like have really clear idea of how the film should be. And this is a very interesting view on of a filmmaker, which is like the same person, but it's two different bodies. One is insecure and vulnerable, and the other, which is yourself, is showing more security towards the actor, more experience, and that's what makes, I think, the essence of the film. Which also, I think your film has a lot of self-reflective ideas of cinema, of avant-gardism, experimentation, and cinema history. And but before making this affirmation, I would like to ask you if you think of cinema history, cinema authors from the past, you get inspired by them, and if so, what is your relation to this author that you may admire, or maybe to make it more simple, do you consider yourself a cinephile uh, in the whole sense of the word?
I mean, sure, I am a cinephile. I'm sorry. It is obvious that I'm a cinephile. I mean, there's no, it's, but to answer your question, like whether I get inspired, yeah, I get inspired by the past by the filmmakers of the past, but at the same time, I am a little bit critical of the filmmaking process. So Cinemagic is like a satire of the power dynamics in the crew or between collaborators, because sometimes it's very easy to fall into kind of an abusive dynamic when you're making movies, because the director gets a lot of power over the people he works with or she works with, and it's kind of a complicated process. Yeah, so
But yeah, go on, please.
no, it's like the word cinephile is kind of like cringy for me.
Okay, cool.
There's this joke by Norm Macdonald, the late Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but on his podcast he said something like, "I've been accused of being a cinephile, but they couldn't prove it." That's his answer to the question whether he is a cinephile. That's what Norm Macdonald said. So that's what first sprang into my mind. But yeah, I'm not so. I'm not romanticizing the cinephilia.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it that way. Maybe my question was heading towards to another question, which is I think it's important, and probably you're part of a generation where first all their life have been recorded, photographed, registered, and it's not my generation. And when I saw Nikita Lavretski, your film, I had this idea in my mind, like how aware you are or how exposed you are to be filmed since you are a little. How normalized is the act of filming, as natural as drawing or writing, or today's cinema is something more complex. And the second is the idea of looking towards new aesthetics, which cheap technology can give you, exploring them and providing images that somehow respond to our contemporary life. And also, I think they give us a good answer of what filmmakers should do today, in this world of overabundance of images. What should be our ethical position to it? And you're definitely doing one that is very honest, and you're using yourself as a subject of study, which is the most honest thing to do, I guess. But also aesthetically, I think they contribute to give us a new landscape. I don't know how to call it. Something that is distant from the cinematic look, the and some aspects of staging that are not anymore part of the cinema tradition today. If I would talk about YouTube users or YouTube filmmakers, just to categorize it somehow. And so in that sense, I think it's important. But also it's important to establish a bridge. I mean, like to say, this is also cinema, and this is the new hybrids of cinema where we should be paying attention. And I see in the industry more, how do you say perezosos? Like critics, they don't want to see new works with new aesthetics. They prefer to see films that they come in a package that would look like big author figures, and this is like Antonioni but shot in Asia. This is like and somehow the spirit of diversity is getting lost. And so for me, it's important to visualize works as yours, because they're also telling us that cinema is there. Cinema is in your film. Cinema is not a lost tradition. It's only changing, and and talking about daily problems, problems of our daily life. And so, this was sort of a introduction just to ask you then a question. How do you feel? What is your relationship with the new medias? How active you are in it, and if you see some connections between these new medias and cinema tradition?
I feel like in the industry, so to speak, like the industry that's trying to copy Hollywood, like I feel like the film industry is kind of like very Hollywood centric at the moment, and there is a very narrow definition of what the word natural or traditional might mean, because like I don't think that the most natural form of filmmaking is like huge blockbusters or something like that. If you go to the earlier filmmaking, like the Lumiere brothers films, they were like 1 minute shorts that were shown in a loop. So you could enter a seance at any moment during the day and watch the movies, the short films, 1 minute films, for as long as you can see them. And this is the exact same thing as TikTok these days. So I feel like TikTok maybe is a very natural form of filmmaking.
Yeah.
For example, Christopher knows Vadim Kostrov, right? And with all due respect, Vadim Kostrov is kind of like an example of conservative cinema, because he makes this feature-length films, like 2-hour films, and he shows them at film festival. But is it really a natural form of cinema where his wife, Natasha Goncharova, she makes TikToks where she dances in her studio, and she has like millions of views. She's very popular on TikTok. Her biggest TikToks have like 5 million views or 3 million views, and she has like infinitely many more subscribers than him. So he's like, who is the real filmmaker here? Because like Natasha brings a lot of enjoyment for a lot of people, and it's still like a visual kind of art, but she dances. This is the most visual thing you can do, really. Because of dancing. So for me, this aspect of what is natural and what is not is I'm extremely suspicious of people who say that only kind of feature-length Hollywood filmmaking, and by extension, like films shown at Cannes Film Festival, are the real cinema. And TikTok, which may be like many times more popular, is not real cinema. For me, this is also a natural form of cinema. And Nikita Lavretski is an example of a film that's also very natural, in my opinion. To make an autobiography using like found footage from your own life is a very natural thing. And the reason why there is no like self-titled movies by Steven Spielberg, even though he is making an autobiographical film next, or like if there's no like film called Francis Ford Coppola, is because the access to like footage of them like getting bullied in school is very limited because technology was not there. But even Coppola, he was very forward thinking. In one interview, he said that he looks forward to the day where the technology, the filmmaking technology, becomes so democratic that like a fat 3-year-old girl from Ohio can pick up a camera, this is his quote, and make a masterpiece, like Mozart, for example. And so I am that 5-year-old girl from Ohio. Like I did pick up the camera when I was 3, and I was filming like people. You can see like some of my earliest shots in the film Nikita Lavretski.
Yeah, but that was not possible before, and that's what makes a big difference of how accessible cinema is for new people, you know. And we are all now potential filmmakers, and that's very interesting because it gives the opportunity to people who never expected to make films to do it. You know, everybody just can grab their phone and make a video and put it on YouTube, and you know the whole process of doing a film and showing your film is done. The whole process of doing cinema is done already, and this was not possible before. So
Nikita Lavretski premiered straight on YouTube. It was published on YouTube first, and then went to film festivals. And as a result, it is my most popular film.
Yeah.
Like, if you see the views, the number of ratings on Letterboxd, etc., it's my most popular film.
And could you talk a bit about the your relationship to these kind of images from movies that are in Nikita Lavretski, particularly Spider-Man 2? The scene where it is Spider-Man 2, right? I'm not mistaking that.
Yeah, it's number 2.
Yes, it is Spider-Man 2. It's one of my favorite films. It's very simple. It's like part of my autobiography. I think that's why it's very used to actually include it in the film, copyright-wise, because like I cannot replace it with anything else. It is part of my biography, because when I was a little kid, when I was like 10 years old, I would watch this particular sequence where Dr. Otto Octavius throws the car through the window, and I would like watch it like looped for hours and hours. Like I was amazed when I on my DVD player I found out the function called A-B repeat, so I could put the A point and the B point and repeat like a sequence and watch it over and over again and slow it down, etc. And I was so amazed by this sequence. I thought it was like the greatest sequence in the history of cinema. Like the way Kirsten Dunst asks for a kiss, and she reaches for a kiss, and then there's this slow motion, and at the same time as she reaches for a kiss, everything like breaks. The car breaks the window. It's like unironically, Sam Raimi is a great director. I hope we can all agree on that. And, this sequence is one of his masterworks. So I mean, it's
That's a
pretty
good-
self-explanatory. That's
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say that somehow synthesizes the impulses of your characters in your film. You know, the impulse, the sexual or erotic impulse, where, for example, asking for a kiss, but the apocalypse could come at the same time. It could be that vibrant, it could be that decisive for the film. Exposing your love, expressing your desires towards your relationship with her.
We actually do have a question already. I will
Good.
go straight to my mix desk and put it on the screen here. So it's a question that asks, you often mention the number of views and ratings, TikTok, Letterboxd, and so on. How serious or mockingly do you talk about this? Does it really matter?
I mean, of course, it matters. All I do is to entertain the viewers, the cinema goers. No, but like it's true. So my work doesn't really like exist if it's not appreciated by the viewers. It's kind of pointless if nobody watches and enjoys it. I mean, the numbers don't really matter in the sense that it's better to like for 50 people to enjoy my films really hard. Like, for example, it's better to change like 50 lives with my films. Like for 50 people to enjoy my films so much that they feel like their lives have changed with my films, than to touch or not touch, but like to like for like a million persons to just glance my video in passing on TikTok. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if a million people just very casually glanced in passing one of my TikToks on TikTok, it's not like so satisfying as like a much lower number, like 50 people enjoying my films really hard. So there's this kind of balance that not just the views matter, but the intensity of effect that I had on these viewers. But at the end of the day, the viewers' interactions with my films do matter.
Yes.
So spread the word. Everyone should spread the word and tell. Like at the moment, I have an open competition for a poster for the Bears Wear. So you still can enter the competition. See the comment, the pinned comment under the Bears Wear on YouTube for the details. You can be the creator of the official poster for the Bears Wear. It's your chance to enter the history of Belarusian cinema?
Well, I think we should not underestimate, these new applications or, softwares today popular because they all are part of our visual culture, like TikTok or even YouTube. At my time, it was, tend to be demonized by critics and people who are cinephiles because they thought this was not cinema. And it's also, again, how you use them and what ethics or relationship you can establish with this new media. For example, in your films, I see, I was really thankful to see, for example, in your film Love and Friendship, where you see two friends just walking around the town where one of the guys was born, and they're using the same styles of the YouTubers, like they go to a city and they become tourists and they try to show you how cool a city is, but the reading of the city is absolutely beautiful and subtle in the way how they relate to the sometimes to the history or the solemnity of the history of the culture, but also to very quotidian moments. And for example, I like when they start naming, all the streets and the relationship to the Soviet past, but then you see this old man that comes into the frame, and they're looking at this graffiti with some flowers and some erotic, elusive figure. And this relationship is so beautiful, and what they think about this old man after is so human that I think beyond the fact that you might be a YouTuber or not, that your aesthetic are closer to a cinema tradition or not, what is most important in your film is this really human moments where everything it, there's nothing else matters, only what is going on to these actors or friends of yours, and how do they solve little situations of life. For me, that's the most beautiful thing. So yeah, I mean, using new technology, I think is something that should be very normal, and using this maybe stereotype kind of situations because you use it with an ironic way, or we can read it as ironic, like again, this couple doing tourism in a city, but the relationship with the city, with that city, is a very personal one, and you show it, and that's for me is the most important thing, rather than you are using fashionable techniques to narrate or to compose a film.
To be honest, I don't think that my version of tourist vlog, so to speak, genre was that much more deep or more interesting than the real thing. I genuinely think that, for example, Semyon Isayev, a Belarusian vlogger who goes by the nickname Brodyaga Fishai, he's a master of filmmaking. His vlogs from like Russian cities are absolute cinema, and his for example, Nastya from Kaluga, a Kaluga vlog where he meets this little girl unsupervised in the streets. Is like pure cinema, the purest of cinema, and I didn't come even remotely close to that level in my emulation of that genre in Love and Partnership. Like even if I try to make it like more human or kind of, I guess not very superficial, it's not even close to the real thing. So
And with
like,
this,
like I said, I didn't do it to just do something fashionable, but at the same time, like I was only trying to make it interesting, but I couldn't reach the level of the real thing, so to speak. That makes sense.
I think I mean, viewers should see your films because they're humans after all, and they're not following trendy things. And when we talk about TikTok or YouTube or whatever new media can name us, we tend to categorize the author as something who's following some fashion or some trend. What I'm saying is that your films are about human beings and about how fucked up this world is, and how important it is to show feelings and use the camera to do that. Yeah.
We do have another question, actually. My question to Nikita: when is the To Ruth sequel coming out?
I mean, To Ruth is based on an anonymous blog on the internet about a guy who was stalking a vlogger, like a guy from 4chan. And so there's no sequel to the source material. He actually deleted the blog as soon as the movie came out. So, and I tried to share the movie with him, but he banned me everywhere. So it's kind of like up to the guy. I don't know what he's up to, because what was his name? I think his name was Quick Pause 123 or Quick Pause 321. I think he was in the furry subculture. No, it's like so. Like it's all up to the guy. He should do another deranged kind of blog, so I can get inspired to make a sequel.
Can I ask about your relationship to cringe comedy? And I mean, you mentioned Norm Macdonald and somehow gave away your hand a little bit.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald is a genius. He's one of my favorite comedians. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of kind of the anti-comedy, the anti-humor, right? That's the official term, right? So, yeah, so I'm a big fan of anti-humor and cringe comedy. Yeah, sure. Not sure if I can add much else. I'm a big fan of Tim Heidecker. Do you know Tim Heidecker?
No.
Yeah. He gets name dropped, I think, in your newest film, which is not. If I'm
the
not
best
mistaken.
way.
No, in the Date in Minsk.
Hi, Date in Minsk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm spoiling anything by
No,
naming this title.
Not a big spoiler. Actually, you missed another question. There was a question during the start of the script, of the stream, even before that. My question to Nikita will be, when Kids Flick will be shown in Minsk? Very good question. And hopefully soon, because I have submitted it to some film festival, but it's not up to me, as it always is with things like this. But it will be shown in Russia soon. You can just travel to Moscow on March 5th, I think. So it's kind of cheap to travel to Moscow from Minsk. So just go to Moscow on March 5th if you really want to see the film.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about a kids flick, even though it's not available in the retrospective or on YouTube. Mainly, I could say as a path to talking about the Bears layer, because these two films are very much related in my mind, even though one is incredibly maximalist and the other is minimalist. But they stem somehow from the same source. And in the case of kids flick, which was shot entirely inside your apartment, if I'm not mistaken, more or less during the lockdown or crisis or whatever you want to call it. It's a film that really takes this space and takes what you've got as a really extreme limitation from which to make the most maximalist film genre, which is a superhero movie. And then, yeah.
I mean, I already have something to work with in regards to my answer. Like, so if you don't mind, I can answer already. So you can then ask more like further question. So to be honest, again, it was not really part of the whole lockdown cinema trend where you're making movies in your flat. Like for the past like 2 years or 3 years, I've been doing this kind of downshifting in my filmmaking very consciously. Ever since I made Sasha's Hell, which was like kind of ambitious in regards to like the number of locations and characters, and I was kind of burned out on it, and like the relationships with the actors kind of went sour, and it was all a little bit of an uncomfortable experience. So for my next film, I promised myself that I'm going to make the film entirely by myself. I don't want to communicate with anyone else. So that's when I made Nikita Lavretski. And somehow I thought like I would make another film by myself and I will come back to proper filmmaking with a crew. But that never happened. I didn't want to come back after all. So to make a kids flick, I was like thinking, when was the last time I was truly comfortable making films? And then I remembered like the films that I made when I was like 12, the Kapral Zadnica, the film that I made with my little brother in our flat, where he plays a special agent who tries to capture terrorists, etc. And we made similar kind of films in our dacha. The film Hussein, about trying to capture Saddam Hussein in the forest. And we made those kind of films, and it was very fun and very comfortable just to make films without, I don't know, the pressure of doing a proper film, so to speak. And so that's what I tried to recreate when I was making a kids flick. And it was a time in Belarus where it was not really safe to try to make films outside the flat. Not because of the COVID, because there was never any lockdown or COVID restrictions in Belarus, really. I don't know about your countries, but in Belarus, even cinemas weren't closed even for one day during COVID in the past 2 years. The cinemas were always open. And it even led to some pretty bizarre showings because the Hollywood films weren't supplied to the cinemas. And so they were showing like this weird American B movies that came out on VOD like 2 years ago. And somehow they were like marketed with weird titles like The Haunted House Part 5. And it was like the name of some random horror films that is not part of any series. So this is like kind of like I know it's something that would happen in the 80s maybe in the kind of film market, but it was happening in 2020 in Belarus and in Russia too. But in Russia, the cinemas actually were closed for a little bit. Anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent. What was I saying? So yeah, a kids flick is a film about trying to recreate this sense of naive filmmaking where you're just making an action film with your friends and don't care about, I don't know, getting that perfect take or that perfect shot. So it's kind of an imperfect film, and in that sense, it was really a challenge to edit the action scenes into something watchable. Yeah, so it's not part of the lockdown cinema trend. It was like my personal kind of movement to downshift in my filmmaking. So yeah, so Bervoga, the Bresler, is kind of the ultimate downshifting film because it was made entirely by myself. Even in Nikita Lavretski, the score, the musical score, is written by my friend Simon Fulilov from England, and in the Bresler, the music is written by myself. It's my first experience as a musical composer. So this movie was made entirely by myself, and I really enjoyed that. Like it's comfortable to work by yourself, and I think it's only fair that if like a novelist or a painter can work by themselves, film director should also be able to work by themselves.
But you're making it sound like a joyful gesture, but it's especially even in contrast to a kids flick. It's to me a very very sad and tragic film. This feeling of loneliness, which I know that you try to put some distance between, but it's really an overwhelming feeling watching this film in this sense. It's, as I told you, it's this movie that I really feel in the slightest gesture of framing or the way that you're sitting or some idea about composition. I really feel this very life-affirming thing for me. It's very touching to me. It's very beautiful. But at the same time, the film is really, after you made all your films with a troupe, as Pierre Léon says, you made all your films with this cast of characters, and now suddenly it's just, as you said, like a novelist's film, which is also the name of the new Hong Sang-soo.
Yeah, that's funny. But did he really make? I would really enjoy a film that Hong Sang-soo makes entirely by himself, with him as the main character. Like that would be a great change of pace for him because like there's not enough change between his films. Like I feel like no, but it's one thing to create your own aesthetic universe, and like I hope that with my films. You can like there's some sense of Nikita Lavretski style to my filmmaking, but at the same time, I also hope that the films are kind of distinguishable from each other. Even though lately I've been kind of repeating myself, and I feel like between Nikita Lavretski, Kids Flick, A Date in Minsk, and The Bearsware, there's a lot of common themes and. They're kind of like I don't know. Maybe it's time I do a change of pace in my filmmaking. But to answer your question, no, I don't think it's such a sad film. Like for me, this film is kind of post-ironic. It's a parody of a sad film. It's a parody of a Sakharov personal essay. So like. The things I say there are very cringy for me because it was all improvised. I recorded the whole monologue like in one take, no interruptions. So and I didn't think beforehand what I was going to say, and some of the things that came out, I kind of regret putting there, but it's also. Like I know it's part of the performance. So this is like a performance art film. Like me, like lying down in those like ridiculous poses in front of the buildings, and then saying the ridiculous things on top of it. It's kind of like post-ironic performance art, and I mean it's okay if. I mean, of course, everything I say is true, and I do feel a great amount of melancholy about these places in my life. But I always feel like this melancholy is only appealing to other people, is only sincere, or is only authentic, where it's kind of tinged with this sense that it all might be a joke. Like for me, it wouldn't work otherwise, because I have to admit that this all is a bit ridiculous. So otherwise, it's pure narcissism to wail in the open about your little problems. I feel like other people have bigger problems than me, so it's like the difference between a tragedy and a comedy is a very subtle one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of rambling. I'm sorry.
People normally don't notice how serious can comedy be, in reflecting human aspects. But again, they help us to subvert the reality of things. Comedy and horrors are maybe the most subversive genres on cinema. And in your case, I think you use it to overcome feelings like melancholy or any other feelings. So there's a change, a transformation for you of you in your films, which is very beautiful. I enjoyed them a lot. So I thank you and please continue doing films.
Thank you. I will try to.
We have a question, but it's already something that we covered. It's interesting to think about this again in relation to what you just said about the Bears layer, because it really it is that I think that we are responding to what you see as this kind of Sokurov parody, ironic performance art. To us, we're also seeing it as members of a cinematic universe, or kind of card-carrying members, let's say, because we saw all these films. So it's suddenly like this absence and the shift in tone. I don't know. I think it's connected to this question somehow, to this idea of a screen Nikita, or even to these characters that you play that are so different, that are nothing like you, but somehow it feeds into this myth making.
So I can answer it this way. So it's very hard to define what is a person in life, because like the way we communicate with other people, the way we present ourselves in different situations is already kind of storytelling. Like if we go to a job interview, we are storytellers. We're telling one story about ourselves. If we go on like social media, on Instagram, we're telling another story about ourselves. So of course, these films are just stories about myself. Like in Nikita Lavretski, it's a horror story. Obviously, my childhood was many different things, and being a horror film is just one little aspect of it that I artificially extracted from the raw materials. I selected the materials just to represent this story. And in the best way, it's also performative. Like if I would like, it's very hard to say if it's even a documentary film, because if I wasn't making a film, I wouldn't go around these places lying down and then bury myself in the snow. Like I literally wouldn't do that if not for the film. So does that mean it's a fiction film? Because I'm only doing these things for the camera. So, and I don't really think like, is there really documentary filmmaking? Like proper, authentic, fact-based filmmaking, because every so-called documentary director, like Andrés, for example, I hope you don't take it, don't take offense, but when you do documentary films, you're also kind of manipulating the facts. You cannot capture, like, if there was a way to capture every atom in existence during a time period in the whole universe, then it would be actual authentic documentary filmmaking. But if we only capture flat projections of just select little images from the great scope of the world we live in, it's kind of fiction by definition, because it's...
Well, I don't claim myself as a documentary filmmaker. I never
Okay.
do. So for me, that idea is well, it's something that we all filmmakers experience. Like this distinction between documentary and fiction is just a market issue.
Yeah, it's a marketing distinction. Exactly. That's what I think also. And like, even with making this discussion for DAFilms, which is supposedly a documentary alliance films, but we're discussing films that are like, well, some are more than the others, but some of my films are fiction by any definition. So, well, I don't know who Nikita Lavretski person in life is. It's very hard to say. Like, I'm a different person when I'm at home with my girlfriend and when I'm out with my friends, aren't I? And who is a person? Like, you can spend your entire life trying. Like, these films are kind of my way of trying to dissect my own self, to discover what kind of person I am. So it's a process. Like, these films do not distort my sense of actual person. They actually help me see what kind of person I am. So by exploring different kind of identities and different aspects of my character, I can understand more precisely what I actually feel and what actual feelings are more important and more defining in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being too pretentious, but
Well, that's what psychoanalysis wish for. That we explore our identities, and the more identities we have, the more ways, the more tools we can use, and the better we can survive in life. But again, I was curious. I had two questions, very anecdotal. One of them is I was impressed when you use these images in Nikita Lavretski when there are students who are bullying you, right? These, normal fights. And how do you get this material? Because at what moment do you have this material back to you? Is there a story behind that?
yeah, I mean, I've always been very obsessed about archiving, like about maintaining a personal archive. I have all my little notebooks from my entire life, where I have like sketches or, I don't know, little poems, etc. And I don't throw anything out. And when I was like a school kid, I was already like asking all my classmates to transfer all the videos uh, from school, with different kind of activities, like various pranks, etc. We were filming ourselves all the time. There was a lot of different kind of videos, and I would edit like music videos with them, like where I would put I don't know, a Metallica or a Linkin Park song, and edit this kind of pranks or jokes that we did when we were like 12 or 13. And uh, so
How do you get?
It was always natural for me to collect all this material, and these kind of Boolean videos were part of the package. Like no one was really aware of the fact that they were Boolean or or something like that. So, like for me, they were kind of traumatic, and maybe another person in my seat wouldn't want to archive them and would like I don't know, delete them. But I was always kind of very, very, very of deleting things. I do not delete stuff. I have like all the takes from all the films I made, and I'm kind of obsessed with.
Yeah, it's interesting that you thought that these materials, even though they were violent material against you, you thought it was important to archive. It was also part of your life, and you wanted to put it in your history life collection of images.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of an instinct to. Maybe it comes from a sort of like narcissism or self-absorption of mine, that I was always kind of. I know I was always, ambitious and proud of the art I was making. I was like, I would write poems when I was like 10 or 11, and I would ask the teacher to put them on the special wall in the classroom for everyone to see. But I actually, like, as a matter of fact, I started writing like actual poems with rhymes when I was 3 years old. I was already reading and writing when I was 3.
And as you know, I was born in Venezuela, and in your film, The Bear's Lair, there is this moment where you mention that you walk out the door, dog, and the dog is named Bolivar.
Yeah, okay.
So it exploded my mind. I wanted to know the
Is
story.
that offensive to name a dog Bolivar? I like, to be honest, the dog has already died, unfortunately, because it was so fat.
Yeah.
It was the dog of my grandmother.
So
but
his real name was
I am pretty sure that it was already named when they like got it. So it was named in the duck pound, or like the place where where it was born. So it was made by the sellers.
All right. Okay.
So we didn't name it. Or my grandmother didn't name it. So it's I don't really have an interesting anecdote why it was called Bolivar, but like I don't know if that's a thing anywhere else, but in Belarus, like the dogs that have like pedigree, or I don't know what's it called, like they have like the breed documented. The name must follow certain rules. Like it must have like a letter from one of their parents and another letter from other parents, or something like that. Have you ever heard stuff like this?
It's the same here.
I've only heard that drag queens, you can use your grandmother's name and your dog name, and you combine and you make a funny name.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar with dogs and drag queens, that their names should follow kind of rules. So I'm just thinking out loud that maybe Bolivar was just a convenient name to name it because they had to like get. Maybe it's like not even a word. Maybe it's like a syllable from one parent and a syllable from another parent, something like that. I don't know these rules, but that's what I think I heard.
Nice.
So I would like to ask anyone if they have any last questions, or Andrés, if you have any last questions, or Nikita, if there's something burning inside you.
Do I have questions?
To mention.
No, I mean, I do have questions. Like, Chris, you watched some of my films, but you haven't really gave me any feedback. So now is your chance to it's okay if you can say negative things.
No, I don't have negative things. I've had an interesting experience because the films were a kind of counter Berlinale for me. I just returned from Berlinale yesterday, extremely tired, and I was watching the films at the Berlinale instead of watching everything else.
That's
And
crazy.
The one film that I am sad we didn't really speak about at all is Sasha's Hell, because it's interesting. I mean, as you said, for you it's this kind of big scale film with the different locations and the airport and this and that, but actually for me I had this opposite feeling that it's a film that is so small and made so modestly, and yet it's for the first hour or so is really like, to me, like this masterpiece of a kind of really painful comedy. It a lot like I mean, the only point of reference I had for it is kind of the UK Office, in this, just the sheer density of cringe and suffering.
I'm a huge fan of the UK Office. Like the Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant Office is like, if I would like make a combined list of the greatest cinema of the 21st century, where I would include TV series also, it would definitely be like top 3 or like top 1. It's like a complete masterpiece.
Yeah, and I felt it, and I also it's funny to me you mentioned Vadim Kostrov, who's somebody who now is working really self-consciously with these different cameras, different shooting formats, and so on. But you already did this. And you do it in each film. There's always something different that comes with a relationship to the camera. And in Sasha's Hell, I mean, it's VHS, right?
Yeah, it's proper authentic VHS. Like the guy who was the DOP, he music video director who kind of like he also does fashion films. So even like in Europe, so he's kind of like a huge VHS geek. He had like 13 different cameras for different types of light. I don't know if you can really appreciate it in the film because like it all looks kind of cheap, but for me it's a very beautiful aesthetic. Like it wasn't so obvious to me. Even for me, it wasn't so obvious straight away that actually there's nothing to be ashamed of in regards to lo-fi. But then I was like thinking, no, but I really enjoy lo-fi images. I enjoy the noise. I enjoy how it shakes. I enjoy the interlaced 50 frames per second photography. I really enjoy how it looks, and I can watch it all day. And also, like in popular music, lo-fi recording, like bedroom pop artists and people like I don't know, like Mark DeMarco, they've been recording albums in their bedrooms, and they're proper pop albums. And I was like, it's a complete false dichotomy that a movie that's appealing to a big audience can only be made with a big budget, and a movie that's lo-fi is unappealing by default. I mean, I haven't disproven this still, because it's not like Sasha's Hell has found a big audience, but it's like it's kind of crazy for me. I feel like this is a very appealing film. I feel like this should be like a viral film. There should be like 1 million views on YouTube. It's like I was making it in 2018, and I felt like this is like I'm capturing a cultural moment in it, like internet collaborations between music artists, this kind of SoundCloud rap scene, and not much happened with the film. Why do you think that?
I don't know. This is we're trying to rectify it at DAFilms.
I mean, we are, but are we really successful?
We'll
Has
see.
The retrospective brought so many viewers for the films? I doubt it, to be honest. So like. And you say that the first hour is a masterpiece of cringe comedy, but what about the second hour?
Well, I mean, it shifts tone.
It shifts the tone, but still, it's no longer a masterpiece.
No,
I felt like it's very interesting shift of tone.
it's
I was
a very
making it.
interesting shift of tone.
I felt like it's the only way to make the film, because like Sasha's Hell, I had the idea that to make a movie about online collaborators making music together and maybe making rap music together. I had this idea in 2013, and at first I was only was only thinking of it in terms of making like a post documentary kind of film, like just with no hidden layers behind the basic plot premise. So just to show the nice how nice it is to meet your online collaborators. Like I have had online collaborators, but I haven't met them yet. Like the guy who co-wrote Sasha's Hell, Ray Koz. He's from Guadalajara in Mexico, and I've never met him in real life. I've been submitting my films to Guadalajara Film Festival just to get a chance to meet him. And Simon, who scored the last few films, well, who scored Nikita Lavretski and the Kids flick, he's from Brighton in the UK, in England.
And how do we meet? Virtually?
And have I met virtually?
Yeah, the Mexican and the English guy.
I mean, with Ricos, we've only ever exchanged emails, and with Simon, we have chatted on video.
Yeah, but how were you aware of each other? I mean, like, how do you contact?
I mean, we met on the forums. Like with Raycos, we met on Mubi forums, and with Simon, we met on the 4chan. So Sasha's Hell is kind of autobiographical in that sense because they also meet on 4chan. But actually, Sasha's Hell, like it's like there's another layer of authenticity to it because Vlad Lullaby is a music artist who plays the lead part in it. I found out about him during a mutual acquaintance because I was talking to Slava, who's a rapper who was like literally in the same, like, I guess, how to say it, the courtyard or the block I live in. He was living like next door to me, to my childhood apartment. And he was studying a year above in my brother's high school. Anyway, I met him like at poetry nights a while ago, and he was also a rapper. And I asked him, does he know any cool underground artists? And he was like, I know this guy from Belgium who has recorded singles with Mialdian, a Belarusian rapper from Molodechno. And I had already written the whole script by that point. And I was like, wow. And so while we were making Sasha's Hell, Vlad Lullaby also met his Belarusian collaborator Mialdian from Molodechno. During the shoot, he was like partying with Mialdian and was late for filming the scenes because he was like hangover from the parties. That's like, so I was when I found out that this thing has already happened, because I didn't have any point of reference for this script beyond my own experience with collaborators online. I was like, wow, this is really a cultural moment. I feel like everyone will be able to relate to this film and will appreciate the authenticity and the truthfulness of it. And like this self-destruction of the other main character, it was also a reflection of my own depression and my fight with depression. And I was also thinking, anyway, what I'm saying is Sasha's Hell, I agree that it's a great film. So why is there no audience for this film? I don't understand. I really don't understand what's happening.
We have
I
another question.
can understand why there is no audience for Bersle or Nikita Lavretski. Those are kind of like experimental films, but Sasha's Hell, it's very. What do you think about Sasha's Hell, Christopher or Andres? I don't know if you've seen Sasha's Hell, Andres.
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to add to this discussion, Christopher?
No, I already gave it the endorsement that it's like Ricky Gervais is The Office. So
But that's about the first part. But what do you think about the second part of the film? Is that too much? Or?
No, I don't think it's too much. I think actually the second half is with the VHS, as you described it. The beauty of the VHS really takes over. But of course, watching in a hotel room in Berlin is a different experience than watching it in a cinema.
I mean, Sasha's Hell has been shown in cinemas.
We do have a couple of other questions, so something like that. So we have this one, which is a little esoteric for me. Have you already seen Rose's, aka Randy Taylor 69's last shorts? What do you think of them and the Randy Taylor's lore she develops over the years? Can she become a good director?
I mean, it's a very. This is like this person who asked the questions. They have Rose Randy Taylor 69 avatar. This is her picture on the user pic. So this is the video, like an underground vlogger, but she has like a cult following. She's not very popular. Who the guy who wrote the blog was obsessing over, who was stalking her and doing really creepy things. And she has like an online following with many other persons like that. And so the short film To Ruth is kind of like, in a way, my most popular short because it has a lot of views. It's uploaded on a separate anonymous channel on YouTube. So that's why it might not be obvious. So Rose, after like the abundance of stalkers, I think she kind of stopped making videos. She stopped making videos in like 2012, but after that she's been releasing like a little bit of music and some videos every Christmas. So every Christmas there's some content from Rose. And so, to be honest, I don't think I saw what she put out this year. Let me check it out. So I feel like the question is about maybe what she put out this year, but because last year it was not like a short film, it was like a music video, I think. And this year, wow, it's like, oh, it's a self-referential video. I'm just seeing the preview. No, I haven't seen it, but I will watch it now because it's like a self-referential. It's a montage of her past videos that she's doing about herself. So yeah, I'm going to watch it. So I cannot answer the question yet. Can she become a good director? I mean, sure. Like, as far as I'm concerned, she's already a better director than I am. She has like her own presence, has gathered a cult following, and she has like 100,000 subscribers just subscribing to her, doing funny monologues. In my opinion, she's already an accomplished director. I don't really distinguish between. I mean, this whole like film festival movement thing and like the distinction between like proper cinema and other kind of democratic cinema, let's call it that, YouTube and TikTok, is the only thing that I really have going for me because I don't have. I struggled so hard with building any type of following online. I don't have any fans online, so I'm kind of conflicted about it. On one hand, I really want to say that I'm all for these democratic forms of content distribution and content production, and like for me, like who is the most popular? Have you noticed that comedy filmmaking is over? there are no Hollywood comedies in the past 10 years that were very popular even. It's a dead genre because like PewDiePie on YouTube, he has many more viewers and fans and hours of content that people have seen in the comedic genre than than probably the entire Hollywood industry has put out in the same time frame in the last 10 years. So like if you think that YouTube is not real cinema, for me cinema is just moving images. So it's like the textbook definition of cinema is the art form of moving images, and YouTube is moving images. So it's like it's not even arguable that it's cinema. But if some critics or curators think that it's not actual cinema, they're being very short-sighted because in 10 years they might as well become obsolete because the narrow definition of cinema doesn't include what people actually watch and enjoy. And so that's what I think. Does that make sense, Christopher, as a curator?
Of course.
Or Andres as a curator also. I mean, you're curating.
I absolutely agree, and that's why I'm showing you very soon in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. There will be a screening in Barcelona. If there are any Barcelona.
Yeah, you know, there's this tradition that cinema should be about referentiality of the history of cinema, and there should be some tradition of, you know, some recognizable aspect that the European author cinema provided. And there is, again, this laziness of people, curators, cinephiles, to see where cinema in these new medias. And also it's important to question, you know, all these new worlds and this virtuality. I mean, to have a critic, position on it is important, and it's in your film. I mean, it's not the main thing, but the way you use the new media is in an ironic way. It's also a way of showing how absurd and funny we can be using. How do we react? How our behavior changes when we are in front of these new medias. You're giving us some names, and well, I thank the person who also named this YouTuber. I was wondering if you could maybe name me some YouTubers that you admire or follow, because I'm very interested in, deepened in the world of YouTubers.
I mean, I don't think like I'm a big expert. The thing about YouTube is like everyone has their own YouTube. Like there's so many creators, and I truly believe that there's someone for everyone. But if we're talking about like comedy, especially, I'm a big fan of the cinematic genre of comedy. I don't think there's like been a bigger name in comedy than like Sam Hyde in the last 10 years, the $1 Million Extreme troupe. They've been doing like truly groundbreaking stuff. I mean,
Sam Hyde.
Yeah, Sam Hyde. He's famous for other things as well, for being like a far-right person, but it's part of the post-ironic kind of thing about him. Like the media, they don't actually get what he's about, right?
Well, I can't find it. Maybe can you spell it for me?
Yeah, I can write in the YouTube comments.
Can you write in the chat? Oh yes, we can.
Hyde is the greatest YouTube comedy of the last 10 years. So like if like the 20s and the 30s are like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, then the 2020s must be about Sam Hyde. That's my opinion. And he's doing stuff on YouTube. And like his films, his stuff is very, very cinematic, but it's like, so it's very visual. That's what I'm trying to say. This is like visual type of comedy. And his editing is out of this world. And he's like, well, editing mainly and visual effects. He studied graphic design actually, so his works with titles is very creative. And yeah, so what I'm wondering about now that like there was a poll in the Russian magazine Искусство Kino last year, or maybe in 2020, but doesn't matter, about the most like in Russian it's the most promising, I guess, the most promising directors in the world. And people were mentioning like kind of oldish directors in the poll, like people who made their first films in the 2000s and who was in their 40s now. And I was like, can you really like, I mean, it's maybe promising is not the right word. It was perspektivny in Russian. It's like kind of a mix between promising and up and coming, like directors who have their future ahead of them. And so I was like, do directors in their 40s really qualify? I also responded in the poll, and I only included the directors who made their first feature-length debut in the 2010s. And it was already like the strictest definition among anyone responding. And so my question is, do you feel like these directors who are represented in I'm just laughing at the joke in the stream. Frankly speaking, I do prefer Sam Jekyll. That's a Sam Hyde joke right there. That's something that literally something he would say. Yeah. So what I'm saying? Do you feel like this? Like I'm 28 years old, and I've been making films for 10 years already. So I'm kind of in a weird spot where I'm here. I've already reached the level where I get a retrospective on DAFilms, and like curators talk about reappraisal of my like of my art. But I'm only 28. Like I don't feel like I've seriously even started doing stuff. I'm just like trying out my hand in a way. And like, do you feel like the directors that are actually represented in the big film festivals are kind of aging? So what I'm saying is like, are there really many directors in their 20s shown at this festival? So, and if they're shown in their 20s, do they just like emulate the cinema of the past, or do they do something truly appropriate for 20-year-olds? I feel like what I'm doing is not so unnatural. The natural part is that I started doing the films so young, but the paradigm will shift very rapidly as soon as like more people from my generation pick up the cameras. And if the
I think it's important that any filmmaker or anyone who belongs is part of this cinema culture has their own definition of what cinema is. I respect when people don't see any cinematic aspect or any aesthetic of cinema on YouTube, or filmmakers who decide to work only on the analog cameras with celluloid, because that's a format that is also dying, and
no, it's a very privileged.
Lose any format or any way of making films, especially handcrafted films. And so I guess that helped me respond to Jan Dillman, who was saying she didn't see any future in the I respect that. I think it's important that each one of us, since cinema culture has become so big and complex, that each one of us see or makes their own definition of what cinema is, which is also different from where art is. I think that's another discussion. Cinema, and I agree with you, Nikita, is part of a culture, audiovisual culture, if you want to name it like that. And that's moving image, working with moving images and creating through that. That's cinema. And if that is art or not, you know perfectly what filters these decisions to happen. You know, is through people who talk about the film. Is about curators who decide to put the film or to give it some reading. So the aspect of art in cinema is another more complicated subject that I think is not part of the discussion because we're not a specialist. We just do films and we try to enjoy doing it.
I think analog filmmaking is it's objectively very costly to make a feature film on 35mm film and to put it through a laboratory, etc. It would already cost like maybe 50,000 euro in this day and age, and it's extremely wasteful. You should just if like Quentin Tarantino or Christopher Nolan makes another film on film, they should just donate this budget excess to someone who will actually do something interesting with that kind of budget. Like they should just donate to African filmmakers. Like it's just donate the movie. Like what I'm saying is the difference between a Christopher Nolan movie shot on film and a Christopher Nolan movie shot on digital will be almost non-existent. Like you couldn't even, like most people will not be able to tell, especially the audience of Christopher Nolan. But the budget difference, this like $50,000 or like $100,000, they would. Those are real money that are being wasted on like a pretentious kind of gesture that nobody cares about. So, like, I think that instead of making a Christopher Nolan movie shot on film, Christopher Nolan should just shot his next film on digital and donate $100,000 to African filmmakers. And
so I will ask you a $1 million question. What would you do if a producer gives you $1 million to make films? What would you do?
What would I do? I mean, it's like I do have like a script that would benefit from that kind of budget. I have like a great script. If any producers are listening, they should donate me. I mean, not $1 million. I can work with a lower budget, but this is like the script that I cannot make with no budget. It's an alternative. It's a gambling drama in alternative history USSR. Like it's a digital age USSR with like Soviet kind of digital technologies that's kind of a little bit broken, and there are like 3D phones, etc. And it's also based on my great grandfather's biography, who was like a professional gambler. He was like captured by the Nazis in the World War II, but after being captured by the Nazis, he returned to his home village in Belarus. But he was really afraid that he would be sent to Gulag, because it's like everyone who was in the capture, in the German captivity, was a potential spy in the eyes of the government, and many of those people were sent to Gulag. So instead of like staying with his newborn son and his wife, he abandoned them for like 7 years and traveled trains around the USSR playing cards. So this is like the basic premise I employed in my script, but it takes place in 2020 in alternative history USSR. And it's very funny and very suspenseful because I'm a big fan of the gambling genre. It's like my great passion. I am a big fan of Fukumoto Nobuyuki, who is like a comic artist from Japan. He's created this manga called Kaiji, and it's like a complete masterpiece. And I'm a big fan of the gambling genre, and so I wrote a script that's. So what I'm saying is I have already a script that I can waste $1 million on. No problem. Like,
but I have.
It's very easy to actually spend $1 million. You just raise the salaries for everyone. It's like it's no challenge to spend $1 million.
Yeah, but it was only joking, Nikita. I was only doing a joke.
No, what are you saying? It's no joke. It's my future. I will show you a joke. What are you saying? It's not going to be a joke. You will be jealous of the budgets I get. Come to me, Andres. In 10 years, you will come to me and you will say, "Where can I get the budgets you get, Nikita?" That's a joke. That's the most offensive thing I ever heard. A joke. It's no joke.
$1 million is a joke. Yeah, money is not the issue here. But yeah.
But I have to admit that I agree with Jean Dielman, and actually, with every passing comment, I start to suspect I know who this person maybe is. But the
not reveal for identity.
Yeah, but they're right in the sense that it's true that in the films that you were speaking about, Christopher Nolan and Tarantino, there is no change in budget if you shoot on film, because actually you maybe even save money because you don't have to do this huge expensive digital post-production. But it is true, and where I will say, as they say, it's true that at festivals what you're saying is right, because it as you said, it's objectively true.
They can do the digital films with no post-production also. What are you talking about? Like literally a Christopher Nolan film with no post-production. Like it's the same freaking thing. His films are the most boring shot ever. They have the most boring colors and everything. And they're all like this, they're plot-based. Do you really think that people will like go to Christopher Nolan thing and complain that it's not like properly color corrected? His audience will not even see any difference. He can put out like just throw the most basic loot from Resolve, just the most basic one, and it will work fine. I don't know what you're talking about. There is like barely any color in a Christopher Nolan film. He doesn't need millions on post-production.
Well, creativity is not necessarily dependent on budget or money. And this is where I normally put the focus on. So I don't care if the film is made with lots of money or little budget. It's more about the creativity and the feelings are portrayed in the film. And so, yeah, creativity is not necessarily, not having more money means having more creativity or more freedom, and vice versa.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan is a perfect proof of that.
Yeah.
Position.
Well,
yeah, I'm sorry, Christopher. What if Christopher Nolan wants?
Christopher is here and he's taking notes.
As you were saying this, actually, we lost one viewer. So maybe Nolan was watching this whole time.
Yeah, that would be like. Have you met Christopher Nolan? Christopher Small?
No. But no, he's
Not from Wales.
he's not from Wales. Nikita is a little obsessed that I met one of his favorite filmmakers of all time.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins. He's like the great digital modernist. Nobody has seen. Andres, have you seen the film Slipstream by Anthony Hopkins?
No.
It's a complete masterpiece. It's the most futuristic film of the 21st century. It was like, it's insane. It's completely insane. Everyone should watch it. It's about filmmaking, and it's like a neo-noir film, and it's like also a comedy in the style of Sam Hyde. It's everything, and it was made by freaking Anthony Hopkins in like 2007.
Are we talking about the Anthony Hopkins, the actor? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. No, I
It's a digital film that's insanely edited. It has like the same scenes, flipped, like mirror wise, played like straight after each other, and it has like crazy color filters where like it's insane. I don't know how else to describe it. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. And it also makes so much sense. It's got like a terrible Rotten Tomatoes score, but it's just because nobody understood it.
The soul of the film.
Like if you talk about the contrast between like how high the budget of the film probably was, like how high budgeted it is and how futuristic it is, there's like really no analog to it. Does that make sense, right? So it was probably like a pretty high budget film, but it's so crazy.
Well, we keep getting another question. Here we go. Another question about Rose.
Have I ever met Rose personally and discussed the movie with her? No, I haven't. I haven't even tried to contact her. It was like I was kind of when I was making the film, like I was only 18 years old. When I wrote it, I was 17, so I wasn't really mature, but I was already kind of concerned with the ethics of it because like I was making this creepy movie about a stalker, and maybe I was putting like additional spotlight on the subject. But I mean, like to be fair, the names and the setting in the film is completely changed. She's called Ruth in the film, not Rose. So that's kind of the extent of. But I mean, it's already something. So like most people who watch the film probably don't even know like the whole Rose lore behind it. But I was already kind of like I would never dream of sending her the film. It's kind of a traumatic thing. I mean, maybe she found out about it eventually. I don't know. So I don't know if she's seen it or. I mean, it's not that popular. But like a lot of people in the Rose community, so to speak, seem to have an awareness of my film. So maybe a word of it has slipped through to Rose herself. I mean, it would be interesting to hear her opinion of it because the film is so authentic. Like many people have thought, like my girlfriend Volia, before she started dating me, she saw this film and she was really creeped out. She was thinking that I went completely crazy. That it was me, like because I'm starring in the film. People, she thought that it was me who was obsessed about some girl online, or like this extremely misogynistic thoughts in the internal monologue that the character was saying. They are my authentic thoughts. The person says in the comments that they think that she has probably seen it. I mean, that's thought that's an interesting thought to think about.
Okay, so I'm going to say thank you to you both. I was really very, very happy to speak to you, and not to end in a formal way, because I feel like we did just get into a groove. We have another Rose question that's popped up, but this is the last one.
Do I think Rose would have been creeped out by it or taken it as a compliment? I mean, I don't think. Well, I mean, in some perverse way, I guess if there's like an army of stalkers and people who are obsessed about you online, I guess it is kind of a compliment. But like it's a false dichotomy. Creeped out of it or taken it as a compliment. It's both at the same time, isn't it? Like, yeah. Will we make a sequel about the character in 2022? But I don't know what happened to the character. The character is based on the quick pause 3 to 1 or quick pause 1 to 3. I don't remember exactly. They are like another person is communicating. Yeah, it's crazy how this person from the Rose community have found out about the stream. They're like sizable
the Rose
portion the sizable portion of the viewers, I feel like
of DAFilms
invested into Ruth. So that's the film. Like this is a deep cut in my filmography, but now you have to see it, right?
And put it on DAFilms, I guess.
Yeah.
And the enigmatic Jean Dielman asks,
who is Jean Dielman? Please
they said,
tell us who you are. I will not answer the question before you tell us who you are. And we will not end the stream. So even give us a cryptic clue if you are not comfortable, at least to give us a chance to Jean Dielman, who's the fan of the Chantal Ackerman. Everyone, right? So it's not a big clue. That's a smart nickname. So you can't decipher who. Like any cinephile can be behind this nickname. Okay, who is Sam Jack?
He is Sam Jack.
Who is my favorite character from my films? Who's my favorite character from my films? I mean, Volia. Volia is like, there's been not enough talk about Volia in this stream. She's my muse. She's a star in all of my films. Never one she's appeared in, at least, but she's appeared, I guess, in every single one of my films since when I started dating her in 2014. At least like as a cameo. So I guess I really like Waller's character in no, I understand the fictional one, but so it's I mean, a fictional character is like 50% the real person. Don't you see that? That's like physically, there's no such thing as a fictional physical body, or maybe in animation, but I don't do animation. So thank you for the kind words. But I like Waller's character in Love and Partnership. What was her name in that film? Vika?
Sveta.
No, Sveta. Okay, sorry.
Not
I don't
bad,
remember
right?
the names of my own characters. So, Sveta.
Not bad.
But maybe I was testing you. How much attention you were paying, because I don't think it's even mentioned in the film that many times. Yeah, so Sveta from Love and Partnership, like, I feel like that's kind of, I mean, maybe it would sound crazy, but I feel like this character embodies all the, like, some of the nicest qualities about Volia and kind of doesn't involve some of the not nice ones. Is that a bad thing to say? I feel like I've managed to create like a pure Volia than the real one. Is that stupid? But like, I mean, she loses some of Volia's charm actually, because like Volia is a real person. So obviously, every character I created that Volia played is kind of like a pale imitation of the real Volia. So it goes like by definition. But this pale imitation actually gathers some nice qualities in a way that I enjoy watching.
Oh, have I lost you?
We're
No.
here.
I'm here.
Okay.
It was just an awkward pause, Christopher. It was not like there's some glitches in people's communication, not just in the technical side of it. It was like an analog glitch in our communication, not in the connection.
Yeah, I feel like in some way this stream itself has become part of the canon here. This is becoming its own object, its own beast.
I don't know. So,
would you like to say anything else?
would I like to say anything? I would like to hear like if you're waiting for me to like to cut this stream off and to end the discussion, it will not happen. I can talk all day. Wow, that's like a rosebud. Like, this is not a. I know for a fact that this is not an Orson Welles reference. This is a Randy Taylor 69 reference. This is definitely a person from the Rose lore community. What's the poster? This is very good question. This is like Evangelion, the fourth rebuilt Evangelion movie poster. Here you go. This is an anime by Hideaki Anno. Do you guys know it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so I can I really enjoy any talk about my films. I don't get enough of it, and I can talk almost as much as you want. I can. So, Christopher, I would like to hear your thoughts about the other films of mine that you have seen, and Andrés also. But so, Christopher, you've seen also. Well, we've talked about Nikita Lavretski. We've talked about Sasha's Hell,
Mm-hmm.
and Love and Partnership a little bit. What else?
Well, I mean, we can talk about Love and Partnership. We didn't speak about it so much. No, because actually, this person in this mystery Chantal Ackerman fan in the audience put Love and Partnership as their favorite movie of yours, way back at the beginning.
Yeah, I see.
So maybe we should speak about this as a kind of tribute to this person. I mean, I all I knew about this film going into it was two things from Pierre Léon's text, which is that Volia was called a star in pigtails, and that she barks at some dogs. And in this respect, you're right. Volia is incredible in the film, and the barking too is amazing. I was not disappointed at all by the barking. And I told you my feelings about this film. It's a little like The Bear's Lair. I felt this real presence there. This presence in the tiniest moments that I found really, in this case, very inspiring to actually grab a camera and go and do something. So it's almost like I'm here as a moderator, but this actually is a sort of extra curatorial, extra critical view, because it's very personal. It doesn't relate to anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're all filmmakers here, so it's kind of an interesting talk in that way. So, like in 100 years, people will look at this talk and it's like, wow, this is like the three giants, maybe, of the 21st century cinema. Well, who knows what kind of reappraisals are going to happen in the future? Maybe we are the like I don't know.
The Christopher Nolans.
No, well, hopefully not. Yeah, so it's only natural that we can talk about the film in the aspect of like the filmmaking aspect of it. But Andres said earlier something about like he felt like there was a real connection from me to this place in Love and Partnership, and it's like
No.
it's completely no. You said something like that, no?
No, the characters have this
The
relation.
characters have. Yeah, this is interesting. But the characters, for the characters, this was the first time they were in Vitebsk, and I was the second time in my life in Vitebsk, and like it was really a random decision to set the film in Vitebsk, in the city of Vitebsk, because like I was too bored with like Minsk and making every film in Minsk, so I thought maybe I should set my next film in Vitebsk. So like the whole vlog part in the beginning, I kind of wrote the script and pre-planned it by using Google Maps, like the panoramas or like Street View, Google Street View, or maybe it was Yandex Street View because Google Street View wasn't in Belarus at that point. It was like 2016. So anyway, Yandex Street View, which is like the Russian Google. And so I use this online panoramas to investigate the center of the city, what kind of streets we can film on, like the bridge, etc. And so the whole planning of the film was like done online. And so this is like a big part of, like, if you carefully see the way I make movies, like the internet plays a big part in almost each one of them, because like in Sasha's Hell, I found the lead actor online, and actually Alexei Svirsky I also met online, and we've communicated. I was like, my career as a film critic started when I was writing for his VK group. Like there was a VK community about film, and I was like a writer writing posts for it about like mumblecore films. And that's how like later Alexei became like an editor for the horror website Ruth, and he like hired me, well, not hired me, but like how to say it, commissioned like articles from me as a freelancer. Does that make sense? And so what I'm saying is, like, I met Volia online also. She was a moderator on an anime forum when I was like a young anime fan. And when I was 14 and she was like 16, and she was a moderator on an anime forum, and I was just like a regular user. So like our whole relationship dynamic started with this thing when I would like look up to her. She was already like an authoritarian figure to me in a way, because she was like it's no joke. This dynamic that I was like a user and she was like this respected member of the community. She was a moderator. She could like ban people, and everyone looked up to her. She was kind of this mysterious because she was like a girl moderator. It's already kind of interesting. No? So this dynamic is still present in our relationship, I think, in some way. So the internet like has been there's this talk about the metaverse, but I feel like the internet has been the meta reality for me throughout my life. And for me, I feel like it's like I've said the word natural so many times during this talk, because really it maybe is the main word about my filmmaking, because I try to do things that are kind of obvious and natural, and to pre-plan the film during like Google Street View is it's what I feel like everyone should do it, or maybe everyone does it already in the 21st century. I don't know. I know I went on this unrelated tangent, but what were you saying, Christopher, about love and partnership?
I'm not sure. I've lost it.
No, you said something like, it inspired, like the spontaneity of it inspired you as a filmmaker. But what I meant to say is the thing that really should inspire you is like how to benefit from the wonder that's the wonder of the world, the internet. It's really like it's an amazing thing. Like the fact that we are talking right now, it's amazing. It didn't exist until very recently. So like I've made several films entirely on my laptop screen with no camera even. Poetry, I think it's a great film actually. Poetry about strangers, if I say so myself, about strangers reciting poetry to each other online, and weird connections between strangers. It's an interesting topic for me, and poetry is a beautiful film. Sorry, but I genuinely think so. And it was made entirely on the computer screen. And Movie Talks and Quiz, the web series, was also made on the computer screen, and not because of COVID. It was like the script was actually written before COVID, but then like as I was trying to sorry, got distracted by the private messages. I guess everyone in the audience can already guess what they were about. But let me just finish the thought. What I want to say is, like the idea of making a film with a webcam on the computer screen, like it was a natural idea for me even before like the whole craze of screen-based films during COVID era, so to speak. And I actually postponed the film by half a year because like there was such an wave of these productions that I got really annoyed by the aesthetic. So it only came out like in the late 2020. Anyway.
Is that the two times that you've done that with Belarusian Psycho and this film that you just delayed it?
Oh, delayed it. I
because
mean,
because that's quite uncommon. I don't think I've really heard that so much. That somebody who has very few means is it just delays a project completely, rather than just try to shift somehow. Well, I mean, in the case of the Movie Talks and Quiz is different, but
yeah, in the case of Movie Talks and Quiz, I was just not inspired to make it at that moment. That's the kind of privilege I have also as a no means filmmaker, just to don't do something if I don't feel like it. I don't have any obligations. So I try to do things only when I'm inspired. And have I ever delayed? I mean, like this gambling drama in the alternative history USSR, I've been delaying it for some time now. I have had some offers for like people to help me make it, but nothing has happened yet. And Sasha's Hell was also like didn't happen straight away. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think it's that uncommon. Like filmmaking is a lot of times like the start of the production requires good timing. No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Andrés.
And I want to say that you can watch all these films, or most of them, on DAFilms, and you can also watch them on Nikita's YouTube channel. It's the choice is yours. But really, thank you for speaking, and thank you to Jean Dielman.
Thank you, Jan Delmo.
I feel like was also an incredibly active participant in the shaping of this.
Can we follow you, Jan Dillman? Where can we follow you?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
they they
Okay.
prefer to stay in the shadows.
Okay. Thank you both.
See you soon, Nikita. That's
Yeah,
correct.
we'll have another talk with Andrés soon.
Yes.
But it's not going to be streamed, right? It's
No.
only going to be in Barcelona. So come to Barcelona if you want to hear more discussions. It's on the 22nd.
Very
Great.
soon.
But Andrés haven't yet asked me for a film copy. Is he going to show the screener? But that I explicitly said that it's not suitable for showing.
I asked you for a copy a month ago, and you gave it to me on a Google Drive link.
No, but it's a screener. Like I said, it's not suitable. Like the better copy would be a DCP.
No, I checked the technical, and it's pretty good for this screening.
Okay.
Not a huge deal. So don't worry.
I'm sorry, everyone, for this. I have no filter. I just say whatever comes to my mind. Like
I
if
love you for that.
you enjoy my work, you should bear with it. You should take offense. Like this is part of my character. You know, like otherwise I wouldn't be able to make these films if I were thinking too hard about what I put out there. Sorry, deal with it.
You're being passionate, and that's the most beautiful thing. So thank you.
Thank you.